Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MEO Values. And now I would like to invite Gemma and Margot to the stage.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, thank you. Welcome to Values Day. My name is Gemma Dauria, and I'm a senior partner in this office. Thank you. First time I say it on a stage, so thank you.
And I'm Margot. I'm an associate partner in this office. It's probably also the first time I say this on such a big stage.
So, before we start, I would like to ask the people for whom this is the first Values Day to stand up. Welcome. So the good news for us, for Margot and I, is that no matter what happens, you will always remember today. Because we all remember our very first Values Day. Margot will tell you a little bit about hers in a minute. So as you can see, one of the things that's special about today is that we are in a school. We're in a university. We didn't pick a hotel. We normally do these things in a hotel. So we hope that the uncomfortable chairs will remind you of your time at school. Below your chairs, you'll see some pretty old school looking folders, which hopefully will also remind you of your time at school. And the reason for it is not only that it's a great venue, and it's in Abu Dhabi, which is a place where many of us are working these days, but also because it's a place of learning. And hopefully, we hope it will spark some reflection from you today on some of our values, and in particular on the theme of this year's Values Day, which is adhering to the highest professional standards. You will be asked to think about what this means to you, and we will share with you a video. I know that some of you have contributed to a video. We went around the office and asked, what does it mean for you, adhering to the highest professional standards? What I can tell you is that for me, I actually was made aware of what this means even before my McKinsey career. I used to work at an investment bank called JP Morgan. And I remember one of the things that really stuck with me about my years there was a campaign that JP Morgan did in the early 2000s, which was a full-on page in the Financial Times and the Wall Street Journal. And at the time, you may remember, and still today, investment banks celebrate deals using tombstones. So if you go into the office of an investment bank, you'll see many, many tombstones on their shelves. And this campaign was special because it just featured a blank tombstone. And it said at the bottom that sometimes the best deal is no deal at all. And I remember the impact it had on us that had just joined the bank. We came from a perspective of expecting JP Morgan to always want to go after the transaction. And I also remember the impact that had on the language. I used to work in equity capital markets, and how many times I was myself witness to 5 transactions that didn't go ahead because the managing director in charge decided there was no deal to be done for the client. So that really resonated with me. And then, of course, joining McKinsey, it has also had a profound impact on how I decide to do my work and to lead by example in what I do here. But now what I will do is actually show you what our global managing partner talks about when introduces Value Day for this year, and then we'll walk you through the agenda.
Hello, everyone. Values Day is a day that I look forward to. It's a chance for us to get together. It's a chance for us to talk about important matters. There can be nothing more important than talking about what it means to adhere to the highest professional standards, a core value of our firm. And perhaps even more so this year, it's a subject in which I hope we will engage with vigour and with a determination. Because if you think about our firm and its history all the way back to 1926, this firm was created, and indeed created a profession, on the back of taking the subject of advice, as it was then, and making it something more than just the offering of a perspective, making it a profession anchored in a set of values and a set of principles as to how we conduct ourselves. So just as we, back in 1926, set the bar for what it means to adhere to the highest professional standards, I think we have a unique opportunity to do the same in 2019. It includes being very thoughtful about our purpose, why we do what we do. We have our mission, which beautifully articulates what we do. We have a set of values which talk to how we conduct ourselves. But I do think the time has come to talk about purpose, why we do what we do. So I really hope that the conversations you have, which will be replicated around the world, will help answer that question, will be part of a journey that ensures we take this firm to ever greater heights in terms of what it means to adhere to the highest professional standards. Thanks so much, and I hope you have a great Values Day.
So, this is the agenda. We are, of course, already 40 minutes behind, which means we will be much more forceful in the future in getting you from that area to this area. But what we're going to do is the following. We are going to talk about stories of impact from ourselves, from the colleagues that are here in this room. Then we're going to have a real honor, actually, to have among ourselves a keynote speaker. His name is Dandapani. I will introduce him later. I hope that you will find him very insightful and thought-provoking. We then have a little exercise for you on adhering to the highest professional standards, which is going to be also done here in plenary. Then lunch. And then we're going to have a separate session, which is also part of today's Values Day, as you could hear from Kevin's video, which is we're going to have a chance to contribute to shaping our firm's purpose. And then we are going to finish with Ghassan, who is going to share some reflections with us at the end. Now, I would like to walk you through what do we mean by professional standards, because actually we do have them in our values, but I wonder how many of us have reflected on what they are or recently looked at what they mean. So these are our values. I don't need to go through them, but the first one is adhere to the highest professional standards. The second one is improve our clients' performance. The third one is create an unrivaled environment for exceptional people. But if we zoom in onto this, adhere to the highest professional standards and what it means, these are the 5 key areas. I looked at what was written about Marvin Bower when he died in 2003, aged 99. And the New York Times obituary, among all the things that he has accomplished, actually says, he's credited with taking a fledgling industry and setting its course not only as the kind of services it could provide, but also the standards it must uphold for its work to be respected. This was in Marvin Bower's obituary. And the reason why I mentioned that is because one of the things I found most inspiring when I joined the firm was the fact that he led by example. And he sold his own shares back to the firm at book value when he turned 60. Think about the impact of that gesture, more than anything he could have said about what this firm meant to him. So for me personally, adhering to the highest professional standards is about that, is about selflessness and giving our best version of ourselves when it comes to our clients and our people. And I really take that as this gesture by Marvin Bower as something, frankly, I don't think we can probably name other leaders that we know, at least, that actually have done something quite so powerful for their firm or the institution that they founded. Now,
This one.
Adhering to the highest professional standards to me means that you don't act in secret in a way that you would be ashamed of in public.
Adhering to the highest professional standards to me means maintaining an independent perspective and ensuring that you live up to high ethical standards in both your interactions with team members as well as with client members.
Quality.
Commitment.
Integrity.
Corruption.
I think of crisis. What happened? What did we do? What's going on? Crisis.
It means that we need to do a great job, give the right answer while making sure we don't kill people and allow them to grow.
To me, it means being caring, loving, and putting your colleagues first in all situations.
Treating colleagues equally, whether they are partners, non-partners, junior, tenured, making sure that everyone gets the best that you can offer him.
Think before you click.
Restart is smart.
Control or delete when you leave your seat.
Integrity.
Ethics. Courage.
Integrity. Adhering to the highest professional standards means speaking truth to power. Going to a tough client, super senior guy, and telling them that their initial hypothesis of the answer is wrong, based by fact, takes a lot of courage, but really upholds our trust and credibility as independent client counselors.
Standing by what one thinks is right and never being afraid to say no.
It means knowing when to say, I don't know, I was wrong, or I can't do this.
I think one way that we try and do this very well, and we should be doing more of, is being fearless and telling clients things that they don't want to hear. Whether it's that we can't help them on something, or that they need to fundamentally rethink their approach to the things that they're doing.
So I think adhering to the highest professional standards for me is just to be every day proud of the work I'm doing.
So I'm very envious of all of you for whom it's your first Values Day. As Gemma was saying, you always remember it. And mine was pretty much exactly 10 years ago. And I remember what we talked about at the time. We talked about a new thing the firm had invented then, which we called appreciative inquiry, which was a fancy word for what we now all call strength-based feedback, and has become something quite standard we do at the firm. But 10 years ago, appreciative inquiry was like the new big thing. And the amount of people we were would have filled in just about those chairs here. And now it's quite mind-blowing for me to think we're not just filling in all of this room, but there's actually multiple Values Day happening in multiple locations, and how fast we grew. That also poses a greater challenge than ever of precisely holding the highest professional standards. Because as we scale up and become more and more diverse and become a larger group of people serving a more and more diverse set of clients in multiple geographies, how do we maintain that standard? I think in the video, I mentioned 3 things. That for me, it's about knowing to say that you don't know, or that it's not the right thing to do, or even more so that you were wrong. And the you were wrong, I think, is the thing that most sticks to me with professional standards. I think if you stay long enough in this job and you care enough about it, I hope you will reflect on all the great stories of impact you've had. But the stuff that will haunt you, if you're a little bit like me, is all the times where you reflect on when you might not have held up to the highest professional standards. And in my case, some of those stories are 6, 7 years ago, and I still wish I would have done some things differently. Whether it's that time when I was a young engagement manager, staffed in a super remote location with a team, and I wasn't as inclusive as I should have been with one of the team members. And don't get me wrong, that guy was like a complete jerk. So that remains. But despite him being the biggest jerk in the world and really difficult to work with, it was up to me to hold the right standards and make this right and make the environment right for everyone. And I didn't do that 6, 7 years ago, however long ago that was. Or, that time when maybe I encouraged a client to push the ambition further than they should have, and it ended up wrongdoing them big time. And so, despite all the great impact stories, the few times where you will slip are the things that will stay with you for very long. It's a firm where we don't necessarily have accountability. We don't hold a P&L. We recommend something to the client, whether they do it or not. There's many layers removed from accountability, but the only thing we have is our standards. And so one of the things we wanted to share with you today is maybe some stories of others who have slipped, maybe slightly bigger slips than some of the slips we've done. But this could be you, or this could be me any day if we just slip a little bit too far. Do you recognize some of those people? I'll give you a minute. What is the first thing that comes to your mind when you see this collection of people together? There's only guys. No, there's one woman.
Come on, give us credit.
Anything else that comes to mind? Yeah, they were all people that were at some point at the peak of their career, in the highest possible positions, role models, very inspiring legacy, track record, have accomplished amazing things. But unfortunately, when you look at this picture and when you talk about those names today, the one thing that sticks and that people remember from them is maybe that one time that they slipped a little bit too far. I'll briefly run you through the different people in case you recognize some of them.
Let's see how many of them you got right.
So hopefully you recognized a lot of those people. But I think this is to say that sometimes one event can just completely throw away one person's reputation and career. What's coming next is a video that talks about what is the bar. So a standard, how do we set the bar? Is it here? Is it here? Is it very high? I think what the next video is going to talk about with Nelson Mandela is the bar is if you think that this is a very high bar, the bar is even way above that if you're really going to hold up to standards.
I am aware of your earlier vote. I am aware that it was unanimous. Nonetheless, I believe we should restore the Springboks. Restore their name, their emblem, and their colors immediately. Our enemy is no longer the Afrikaner. They are our fellow South Africans, our partners in democracy. And they treasure Springbok rugby. If we take that away, we lose them. I know. All of the things they denied us. But this is no time to celebrate petty revenge. This is the time to build our nation. You elected me your leader. Let me lead.
So, to recap, 3 key takeaways. The first one is, it could be any of us. You saw the pictures on that page. These were people, that we would have probably served, that we would have probably worked with, that we would have probably aspired to be like. The second message is the bar is exceptionally high, and I think what the Mandela Club talks about is, doing the hard thing. Because actually what he stood up there, everybody was expecting him to incite this association to actually disband the Springboks. They were a symbol of Afrikaner rule, and he managed to unite a nation behind this team. Actually win the World Cup. This is from the movie Invictus, for those of you who haven't watched it. The third message is that, unfortunately, it is not an injection. You can't do a training. I wish you could do a training or professional standards online, and you're certified, and then great, we declare victory, we move on. It's actually a muscle that needs constant exercise, because the kind of decisions that led some of those people in trouble, these are decisions that you probably make every day in and day out. And at the end of the day, it's all about who we do it for, remembering who we do it for and what we stand for. The next short video is from a talk by a Stanford Hospital doctor by the name of Abraham Verghese, who talks about this more eloquently than we could.
Gotten into some trouble in Silicon Valley for saying that the patient in the bed has almost become an icon for the real patient who's in the computer. I've actually coined a term for that entity in the computer. I call it the eye patient. The eye patient is getting wonderful care all across America. The real patient often wonders, where is everyone? When are they going to come by and explain things to me? Who's in charge? There's a real disjunction between the patient's perception and our own perception as physicians of the best medical care. I want to show you a picture of what rounds looked like when I was in training. The focus was around the patient. We went from bed to bed. The attending physician was in charge. Too often these days, rounds looks very much like this, where the discussion is taking place in a room far away from the patient. The discussion is all about images on the computer, data, and the one critical piece missing is that of the patient.
So, again, 3 key takeaways. If there is nothing else you remember from this Values Day, we hope you will take away these 3 messages, and we will try and make you do something at the end of this session to sort of solidify the messages. But it could be any of us. The bar is exceptionally high, and then it's a muscle you have to exercise day in and day out. The good news is, you're not alone. We face these challenges. I mean, every person in every one of these chairs faces these challenges day in and day out. And often one of the things that we found really helps is asking for support, asking the question to a colleague or a group of colleagues. Brainstorm, use them as a sounding board. What would you do in this case? What we found is that that always leads to better outcomes than you trying to, shoulder the burden by yourself. Now, we have fantastic stories of upholding the highest professional standards in this room. What we wanted to do is, again, just not telling you, but showing you, invite some of our colleagues, and we're going to do it a bit differently. First, we're going to talk about some of the amazing work that we're doing with IRC, and then we're going to ask colleagues who nominated others for times when they have witnessed stories of adhering to the highest professional standards. But before all that, can I please invite Stephen? Are you in the room? Stephen Hall? Please. Yeah.
Is this on? Yes. So good morning, everyone. I want to talk a little bit today about the work we're doing as a group with the International Rescue Committee, which is an organization that works with refugees across the whole world, but in particular here in the region. I'm going to keep the focus on values and professional standards, but to start with just some facts about the refugee situation. There are approximately 70 million people, refugees, around the world. Over 20 million of those are children. 10 million people just in our region, just from Syria, not even thinking about Iraq and Yemen. So more people than live in the UAE who are displaced around the world. And that situation is going on and has been going on now, Syria for 10 years, Iraq for 20 years. Goodness knows how long that will continue. Anyway, not to talk about that too much, but to think about how this links to our theme for today about values and professional standards. So we made a decision as the office last year that this was a cause that we cared about very deeply and that we wanted to do something about and that we wanted to engage on as a whole office community. And so that journey started last year. About 250 people out of 600 in the office then, it's probably more now, came with us on visits to refugee camps and refugee program sites around the region. We did a mix of problem solving, visiting, talking with refugees, talking with workers. And then since January, we've been working with one particular organization as a client on how we can help them really scale their impact across the region. And there are, I think, 5 ways that the work that we're doing ties to our theme for today of values and professional standards. I think the first one is, this is core to our mission of what we do as a firm, right? The core value of we help clients make lasting, meaningful improvements in performance. This is a way for us to have impact on one of the biggest issues facing our region in a way that aligns with what it is that we actually do as a group of people. And so we work with a client who is serving 2.5 million people in countries around the region, and we help them improve their performance in order to affect the lives of all of those people and help them reach more people. And so this is core to what we do. This is not us volunteering as a group or donating money as a group. This is us bringing our collective mission to that particular challenge. I think the second thing is that we think very hard about which clients we serve and the topics on which we serve them. So the IRC they've been around for a very, very long time. They were established in the 1930s to help refugees from Europe who are resettling mostly in North America. And since then, they've become one of the largest organizations working with displaced people around the world to help them achieve sustainability, to help them get their lives back on track. And so there was a sort of an effort to think about who's the most impactful group of people that we could partner with to really work with on this situation. I think the third way in which I've really enjoyed the past year has been this started off and continues to be not just a commitment of a group of people or a commitment of a CST, but actually a commitment of the whole office. And so when we did the visits last year, we were doing that not just as a group of consultants going, but actually everybody going together in mixed groups, different tenures, different roles within the firm, and everybody was engaging on the same things, on problem solving, on working with them, on really understanding what they do. And I think that changed the experience a little bit from our standard thing of there's a team with an EM and a bunch of people, but actually it was different colleagues with different perspectives working and thinking about particular challenges. The fourth thing is how we talk about adhering to the highest professional standards. The IRC is an incredibly standards and values-driven organization, but they're a very different kind of organization to us. So for them, the highest professional standards are we running the best clinic we could be running? Are we running the best schools we could be running? Are we delivering services in the best way to this group of people? And so they adhere to very, very high standards in their own way, but their operations work in a completely different way to typical clients of ours. And so not only do we have to make sure that we align with their standards and understand what they're trying to achieve, but we bring our own professional standards, whether that's in how we work with them, how we treat them as a client, whether it's in the bar that we bring to their processes around mundane things like procurement, like operations, like how they do their HR processes. This is the value that we bring, is holding that bar for professional standards really high and helping them achieve that. And then the final thing is, I think, this idea that we sort of need to be always pushing ourselves to hold that bar ever higher. And so we have a group of people from around the firm, some from the Middle East, Ghassan and Victor, but also globally, of senior partners from around the firm, different practices, different bits of the organization. And every month we have a call with those people where they basically beat us up a little bit and ask us really difficult questions about, is this the most impactful thing you could be doing? Is this the best way we can be using these resources that we're giving to this cause to have the greatest impact on people in the field and people who really need that help? And I think that the IRC is super happy with whatever help we're providing them, but constantly pushing that bar higher to say, is this the best thing we could be doing with our own time, with our own resources, is, I think, a core part of adhering to professional standards. So those are the sort of 5 ways that I think the work we're doing really ties to the theme for today. We're about halfway through our work with the IRC. We're going to be continuing probably till the end of the year. We've already helped them change some of their processes, change some of the ways they serve beneficiaries, get more efficient in the way that they do lots of things. If we manage to continue this and scale this across the whole region, we think we could potentially get them to a place where they're able to serve 50% more people than the current 2.5 million. And so we're really excited about the experience of working with them, about the impact of working with them. And I'm glad I got to tell you a bit about it today. So thank you.
Thank you. So we've talked a bit about what professional standards means at a firm level. We've talked a bit about it at a CST level. But we'd love to also use this opportunity to celebrate some of our colleagues who, on the day-to-day job, have actually demonstrated outstanding professional standards and share a few real stories with you. The first person I'd like to call is Pier Francesco.
It works? Yes. Hi guys, good morning. I'm a bit of an introvert, so apologies in advance if I come across as a bit of a clumsy guy. By the way, a small note, I've already received a bunch of messages on my little video asking if I kill people. I guess, no, I'm trying to make exactly the opposite point, which is let's not take it for granted that we need to kill people to give a good answer. Good. Just specifying. So yeah, a story of people really living by the values and making change by that. I guess most of you will be familiar with the Jeddah Airport project in a way or in another. The fact that people laugh at this as if it was a joke is already evidence. Now, it's a super cool project. It literally is about us shaping a huge piece of land that is planned to become the new city center according to the municipality within 20 to 30 years. Now, the small issue is we totally messed up internally. This is 100% an internal problem that we had in the way we planned the way to go about this project. Let us not go into the details of this, but fast forward a few months and a lot of stressful times later, we ended up having our first big meeting that lasted very shortly because the mayor of Jeddah literally stormed out of the room. And one of the key experts we were bringing trying to help us have a good conversation from Germany, ended any chances that we had in that meeting with a sentence like, well, guys, I have a PhD in this topic. I probably know much better than all of you. And some of these were some of the major stakeholders in the country or in the city, so you can imagine how things happen. Now, at that specific point, there was a flood of emails, people calling Ghassan, telling him everybody's under-delivering, very disappointed. You picture anything bad, it's happening. Now, at that point, we had implicitly like two options, if you think about it. There's the usual, which is, well, now we need to double down, right? Let's push even more. People need to do better. A lot of tension, a lot of pressure, and then let's hope things turn around. And again, many of us maybe have seen this happen before. I remember Subu, who's one of our key global practice leaders in real estate, the moment we sent him a bit of an update on this, his first answer was, I'm sorry to hear this. It's a collective mistake. We've been through this before. Let's get through this together. Let me know anything I can do to help. Now, this was a bit of a defining moment for us. We, as a practice, literally sat down together and discussed openly the mistakes we had made, and we did make several ones, also big ones. We discussed how to go about this, and the practical action was all of it, like fast forward to a month later, the following meeting was, we had some of the most important senior partners we have in a regional and global level join the meeting with the same stakeholders. The only non-senior partner person was me, only because I was the guy clicking the slides. Don't think about anything else. And I think even not that anymore, because I think Ghassan and Sangeet took over the controller, so at some point it was a little, I think I took minutes, maybe. But, and that was a great conversation that happened. After which we also decided, let's again further double down resources. As you can imagine, there's a financial implications that we had to discuss because we multiplied team capacity by 4. But we decided, let's take a hint, let's figure out how to make this work, whereby the answer is not necessarily give more capacity, create more pressure, but understand our own mistakes, live by the value of even friendship and sportsmanship in the way we went about this together, succeed as a team in order to deliver the best for the client, and in a way that we as a group, and I'm not talking about the people on the project or in the practice, but collectively as an office, we emerge as winners, we turn this around, we have stronger bonds among each other, and we also know how to do better going forward. So I think having probably seen many of difficult situations, I believe everybody can act cool in cool circumstances. You see the real cool people when something hits the fan. I think this is a good example of how we didn't backstab anyone, we didn't throw anyone under the bus, we didn't dismiss our clients as, oh yeah, they don't know what they are doing. We just acknowledged our mistakes, stood by each other, did our best, and then came out in a much better shape where we are today. The project will end in a few weeks. Still a bit bumpy, but we can say now we'll help the city develop what will be the new city center 30 years down the line. Next generations will fly into Jeddah, land there, and they will see what we are now designing.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to call Julian to the stage.
Hi, everyone. So actually, I'm proud to present a colleague who has been with us for almost a decade. She has a very pleasant personality. I'm not sure everyone got the chance to deal with her. I did on several occasions. And what I have observed is that she really maintains high ethical standards and is keen to always put the client interest ahead whenever she action any last-minute deals. And for us as FSP, our clients are you guys. The colleague I'm talking about has access to approve requests that can sometimes, when a system is operating, be rejected. But she still goes through every single request, making sure that the colleague or her client is actually been treated fairly. And if this should be rejected, then fine. But if not, then she makes sure that he gets what he should claim back. And I don't see very small font. So actually, I want to invite to the stage Sharon De Silva. She personally double checks not only with me, but with all stakeholders to make sure that she's doing it to the highest ethical standards and not just doing a job.
Thank you so much. This is a surprise. McKinsey has taught me one thing is stand for what is right. And being in finance, I think it moreover puts a lot of pressure for us, as in being a finance steward, to make the right use of the funds. So yeah, I'm just doing what I feel is right and what we all should be doing. So thank you so much.
Thank you. So we had actually many nominations for Stories of Impact. We just selected actually a few more, but because we're running behind, we're going to try and have them showcased in our Values Day in Riyadh, which is a week from now, and then also in Karachi, which is going to be later this month. But thank you so much. That was very, very inspiring. We want to show you just a very short video about some stories of impact that are beyond this region.
Getting the operators over there who are faced with a future of probably losing their jobs to now becoming one of the most competitive and energized institutions in the country and in the region has been a fascinating journey.
Globally, there's a huge burden of disease. However, the vaccines are not going to work if you don't get them to the children that need them. And the way to get them to kids is through the supply chain.
Really, what we had to do was make has been to kind of take the company into the digital age.
En digital no vendíamos históricamente en Internet y hoy el 30% de nuestra venta se canaliza a través de canales digitales.
The end consumer should just see a bigger, better, faster, leaner Levi's, but really to them, it's just they're going to be able to find the product that they love where they shop.
We have worked with 4 startups and created solutions which frankly don't exist in the industry. That has been truly, truly energizing.
We were able to bring people from the private sector, we're able to bring people from the public sector and from the social sector. And when you have those 3 parties around the table, that's when the magic happens.
As a father with a young daughter, I am really proud that my work will help improve her life and the life of kids like her across the world.
En Naranja no podríamos nunca haber trabajado con una compañía que no tuviera similares valores, que no tuviera una cultura de negocio basada en la calidad humana, y las personas en el centro de todo. Y yo creo que McKinsey lo personalizó muy bien. Nosotros estamos convencidos que hemos elegido el mejor socio para desarrollar esto y que vamos a tener un killer de negocio en Argentina y en el mundo muy importante.
Well, it's wonderful to be in the firm that it's able to deliver this type of impact to our clients.
It's not just a consulting assignment. It is a collective and collaborative learning experience for both of us. And being able to change a large part of our organization's mindset within 6 months, it's quite amazing. It's quite amazing.
Great, very inspiring. And I saw, by the way, many of you looking at me or at us in dread when you saw the couch go up. I think many of you are worried I'm going to call you now and interview you on when did you display the highest professional standards. But we won't do that because we have a much, actually it's a real honor to have Dandapani here with us. I'm going to introduce him briefly. I'll tell you a little anecdote first because I had breakfast with him this morning. And among the different things we discussed, he mentioned something which totally threw me off center because we're talking about purpose. And he said, I have this, I think about my purpose in these different buckets. And one of the buckets is, he said, I have a 200-year purpose. Just thinking, wow, a 200-year purpose. He's building something that he hopes will have an impact for the next 200 years. So anyway, it helped me reset my ambition on purpose, I can tell you that. So who is he? He's a Hindu priest today, and he's an entrepreneur, but he was a monk for 10 years. So after graduating university with a degree in electrical engineering, he actually left it all behind to become a Hindu monk under the guidance of one of the foremost spiritual leaders of Hinduism at a cloistered monastery in Hawaii for 10 years. And for 10 years there, he lived a life of strong personal discipline and training. And then when his vows were over, he actually chose to venture out into the world and make New York City his home. And he has this very, if you talk about adhering to the highest professional standards and living a life with purpose, his purpose is to help people live a life of purpose and achieve enlightenment. So without much further ado, please join me in welcoming Dandapani to the stage.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you today, so thank you for having me here. It's my hope in the next 1 hour that I have with all of you to share with you simple, practical tools that you can bring into every aspect of your life that can empower you to be the better versions of yourself, and most importantly, sustain changes that you want to create in your life. But before we dive into sharing tools, I'd love to start by doing a short guided meditation with you, okay? So for that, I'd love for you all to sit up straight in your chair. And before we start our meditation practice, it's always good to define what meditation is. And obviously, everyone defines meditation differently. I define meditation as having a meeting with your energy. So every day, energy is going out of you to people and things around you. When was the last time you withdrew all your energy and had a meeting with your energy and gathered a very clear instruction? The same way that sports teams, like a basketball team, might go onto the court, play, coach calls times out, time out, everybody comes off to the side of the court, he or she gives a very clear instruction and then sends them back out to the court. We do this in sports games, we do this in companies where companies have meetings, right? Can you imagine running a business without ever having a meeting? Impossible, right? We pull people together, we give clear objectives, clear goals, and then we send them back out again, but we never have a meeting with our energy. Our energy is always going out to people and things around us. So you could say that meditation is having a meeting with your energy. So I'm going to share with you a very simple practice, and I'll guide you through it. So you can sit up straight in your chair, please. Keep your feet firmly planted on the ground. Your hands, you could put your left hand down, your right hand on top, the tips of your thumbs lightly touching each other if you wanted to. It's actually a very interesting practice because when your thumbs no longer touch each other, it shows that you've lost concentration. So one simple way to know that your mind has wandered away. And keep your head nicely balanced on top of your spine. If you're leaning back in your chair, sit forward a little bit. You can roll your shoulders back. Your head nicely balanced on top of your spine. Your eyes are closed. And you can relax your face. And take a slow, deep breath in. And slowly exhale. Take another slow, deep breath in. Slowly exhale. I want you to become aware of the room around you. Hear the humming of the projector, my air conditioning in the room, the sound of my voice. Now become aware of your body. Become aware of your spine, sitting up straight. Become aware of your feet, your posture. Now I want you to become aware of the energy in your body. And if you can't feel the energy in your body, that's okay. Just visualize your entire physical body filled with energy, and you can visualize energy as a white light or a light blue light permeating your entire physical body. One of the important things to do in meditation is visualization. Visualization leads to the process of actually feeling what's happening. And what we want to do is systematically withdraw the energy from your entire body into your spine. Your spine is your meeting room, so to speak, and that's where you meet with your energy. So if you can't feel the energy in your body, just visualize it throughout your physical body. Now become aware of the energy in your left leg. If you can't feel your left foot, you can wiggle your left toes a little bit. Now feel or visualize all the energy in your left foot being absorbed into the nervous system, flowing inward and upward through your left toes, your left foot, up your left leg, through your left calf, your left knee, your left thigh. Again, if you can't feel it, just visualize this happening, all the energy in your left foot flowing up your left leg, through your left hip, and into your spine. And you can visualize your spine like one of those old fluorescent tubes that are long and filled with a white light. You can feel all that energy being drawn up your left leg into your spine. Now become aware of the energy in your right foot. Feel all the energy in your right foot being drawn into the nervous system, flowing inward and upward through your right leg, your right knee, your right thigh, your right hip, and into your spine. Become aware of the energy in your left hand now, your left fingers. The energy in your left fingers being absorbed into the nervous system, flowing inward and upward from the very tips of your fingers to the base of your fingers, through your palm, your left wrist, flowing through your left forearm, elbow, left arm, shoulder, through your entire left torso, and into your spine. Your spine is the center, the gathering of all your energy. Become aware of your right hand. Feel all the energy in your right hand being absorbed into the nervous system, flowing inward and upward through your right fingers, your right palm, right forearm, right elbow, right arm, shoulder, and through your entire right torso and into your spine. Now, if you can't feel your spine, gently move your back from left to right, just really slowly, and you can feel where your spine is. Feel all your energy gathered in your spine. Your spine is your meeting room. Use your powers of concentration to hold the energy in your spine. If you find your awareness drifting away, gently and lovingly bring it back. Keep it focused on your spine. We'll hold it here for a few moments. Now let's send energy back into our body again. Now feel all the energy that's gathered in your spine, flowing back out into your spine in the reverse order. So the energy is flowing out of your spine through your right torso, through your right shoulder, flowing down your right arm, all the way to the very tips of your right fingers. Feel your entire upper right-hand side of your body filled with this renewed energy. Energy is flowing out of your spine now through your left torso, your left shoulder, flowing down your left arm, all the way to the very tips of your left fingers. Now your entire upper left-hand side of your body is filled with this renewed energy. Energy is flowing out of your spine, down your right leg, through your right hip, your right thigh, knee, all the way down to the very tips of your right toes. Your right leg is now filled with this renewed energy. Energy is flowing out of your spine now, down your left leg, through your left hip, your left thigh, left knee, all the way down to the very tips of your left toes. Feel your entire physical body filled with this renewed energy. The first step was becoming conscious of the energy within you. The second step was to systematically, step by step, withdraw energy into your spine. Your spine is your meeting room where you have your meeting with your energy. You collect your energy into your spine, you gather it there, then you systematically send it back out into your body again. This is a very simple meditation practice that you can do every day to help center yourself. Okay, you can slowly open your eyes and adjust yourselves to your surroundings. Well, thank you for doing that with me. The best way to create the greatest impact in everything that you do in life is to work on yourself. You are your greatest asset, and your mind is your greatest tool. Right? Your ability to understand how your mind works, your ability to control it, to harness it, to direct it, and manifest what you want, is your ability to live a successful life. And for me, I define a successful life as living a life that's in alignment with your purpose, living a life that's in alignment with your life design principles, living a life that is where you're able to fulfill your goals in life, and living a life where you're able to constantly focus on the priorities in your life which are defined by your purpose. But unless you know what your purpose in life is, you cannot define the priorities in your life. So knowing the purpose in life is number one. The purpose defines the priorities. The next step is then to focus on the priorities. Your life is a manifestation of where you invest your energy. And the best way to understand the statement is to understand how energy works. And a simple way to understand how energy works is to look at energy the same way you look at water. If I took a watering can and I watered a garden bed, would the weeds grow or the flowers grow? Both, right? Water has no ability to discriminate between the weeds and flowers. So whatever it is I water will grow. Energy works exactly the same way. If I put energy into something positive, it will grow and become more positive. If I put energy into something negative, it will grow and become more negative. Energy has no ability to discriminate between what's positive and what's negative. Whatever it is I invest energy in will grow and start to manifest in my life. So your life is a manifestation of where you're investing your energy. And right this very moment, your life is a sum total of where you've been investing your energy. If you're 30 years old, right now you're a historical record of where you've been investing your energy for the last 30 years. You want to manifest something in your life, learn to move energy and direct and focus energy onto one thing. Right? Your ability to focus and to direct your finite amount of energy towards the priorities in your life is your ability to manifest them in your life, right? You have to understand that you only have a finite amount of energy each day. At some point tonight, all of us are going to be exhausted and we want to go to bed. And depending on how well we sleep, our energy builds back up again the next day. And the next day we go out and we invest our energy into people and things around us. Most of us never evaluate who and what we're investing our energy in. I always tell people to treat energy the same way you treat money. It's a finite resource that needs to be wisely managed, wisely allocated, and wisely invested, right? The goal is ultimately to take the finite amount of energy that you have and focus it towards the priorities in your life that are defined by the purpose in your life. The byproduct of that is you end up living a great life. What is the impetus for leading a purpose-focused life? Why should we live a purpose-focused life? For me, the greatest impetus for living a purpose-focused life is death, right? Death to me is the greatest impetus. Death brings everything into perspective. Your family, friends, work, life itself, all falls into a natural order of priority. It's a topic that most people don't like to talk about because it's not fun. We never look at someone dying and go like, oh, that looks like fun. No, we don't, right? We've all been evolving on this planet as a species for 1.5 million, 2 million years. The one guaranteed thing that we will all experience is death. You've never seen a 500-year-old man or 1,000-year-old woman. What we don't know is what happens at the point of death. We all have different perspectives based on philosophies we subscribe to or religions we belong to. Some say when you die, there's a judgment day and there's heaven or hell. Some people say when you die, game over. That's it, nothing happens. Other people say when you die, you get reincarnated, maybe as a man or woman or insect or animal. But no one really knows what happens when you die. No one's died, gone to heaven, taken a selfie, right? Come back, posted it on Instagram and said, here's me in heaven, #PearlyGates. No, right? We don't know what happens when we die, so we avoid talking about it. We look at our loved ones and we think they're going to live forever. So we go on living that way. And that's where the problem begins, right? When we give our loved ones infinite amount of life, we look at our child and we think our child's going to live forever. Why? Because we love our child. But the truth is people die all the time. Babies die, children die, teenagers die, young adults die, middle-aged people die, old people die all the time. Doesn't mean that you're young, there's no chance of you dying. The biggest thing that you can understand is that we only have one life, right? I believe in reincarnation, but I know I have one life as Dandapani. My next life, I could be a 6-foot-tall blonde girl named Susie for all I know, right? But I know in this life, I am Dandapani and I have one life. My goal is to live an amazing life. When I joined the monastery, 3 years after I joined the monastery, my guru died. And one of the last things that he said on his deathbed is, what an amazing life, I would not have traded it for anything in the world. What an amazing life, I would not have traded it for anything in the world. Now, what words to hear from a dying man. To be able to look back on your life at the point of death and go, that was spectacular. How many people can truly say that? Most people can't. And most people can't say that because they're not clear what their purpose in life is. And because they're not clear in purpose in their life, they can't define the priorities in their life. And because they can't define the priorities in life, they can't focus on it, right? Your goal is to become clear what your purpose is, to be able to then define your priorities, and then to be able to cultivate unwavering focus, though you can stay focused on the priorities in your life. The byproduct of that is that you live an amazing life. If you had 3 minutes to live right now, how many of you can truly look at your life and say, it's been amazing so far, or it's been spectacular? Would you feel satisfied with the way you've lived your life so far? And if you haven't, then something needs to change, right? You just assume you'll live forever. That's a bad assumption to work on. All right, so our path to living a focused life. What we want to do, first step is understand how the mind works. The second step is we want to learn how to concentrate. Then we want to learn how to develop willpower. And then we want to take the first 3 things, apply it towards understanding how to overcome fear, worry, anxiety, and stress, which are kind of some of the basic challenges that we face that prevents us from living the life that we want to live. And my goal is to share with you in the rest of my talk some few simple practical tools that you can apply in your life, right? But all the tools I'm going to share with you are completely useless unless you practice them. And I want to share one thought with you about the law of practice. Practice doesn't have the ability to discriminate between what's good for you and what's not good for you, meaning that whatever it is you practice is what you end up becoming really good at. If I practice distraction 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, after 6 months, I become really good at distraction. After a year, I become an expert at distraction. If I want to play in Wimbledon, would you say I should practice maybe 6-7 hours a day, 6 days a week? Is that a fair amount of practice? Would you say after 6 months I'd play in Wimbledon? A lot of people are shaking their heads. You're encouraging a lot. But I'd be better at tennis, right? If I was practicing 6-7 hours a day, 6 days a week, I'd be better at tennis. After a year, I'd be really good at tennis. Will I play in Wimbledon? Maybe, maybe not. So imagine if you practice distraction. 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. After 6 months, what are you good at? Distraction. After a year, great at distraction. After 2 years, you'd be a master at distraction. Practicing anything 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, you'd be brilliant at it. right? So what I want to teach you today is how to take some of these tools, apply it in your life, create practice, and more important than anything else, create sustainable change. So the first topic we want to start with is understanding how the mind works. I remember a German entrepreneur asked me in Istanbul a few years ago. I was really late at night, he had a Heineken in his hand, and he looked at me and asked me a very German question, and I really appreciated it. He looked at me and said, Dandapani, if you had one thing to share with me, having lived 10 years as a celibate Hindu monk in a cloistered monastery, what would it be? I love very precise, to the point, right? Didn't waste any time, very German. And I said, great question. It would be about understanding how the mind works. This is the most important thing I can share with you. So if there's one thing you can take away from my talk this morning, please take this away, because for me, it's been an absolute game changer in my life, right? So in understanding the mind, we need to understand the difference between awareness and the mind. Let me define what that is to you, right? So let's start by defining what the mind is. I define the mind as a vast space with many different areas within it. So a vast space with many different areas. One area of the mind is anger. One area of the mind is jealousy, happiness, joy, food, sex, photography. So many different areas of the mind. Let's call that the mind, put that aside. Now let's define what awareness is. I define awareness as a glowing ball of light. So imagine an orb, a glowing ball of light that can float around. Let's call that awareness. So we've defined what the mind is, and we've defined what awareness is. Now let's see how both of those things work together. When your awareness goes to a particular area of the mind, it lights up that area of the mind. You become conscious of that area of the mind, right? And if awareness goes to the anger area of the mind, it lights up the anger area of the mind. You become conscious of being angry. Are you angry? No, you're not. You are in an area of the mind called anger. If awareness goes to the happy area of the mind, it lights up the happy area of the mind. Are you happy? No, you are in an area of the mind called happiness. So you're not the mind, rather your awareness moving within the mind. Two completely different things. Awareness and the mind are two completely different things. Your ability to use your willpower and concentration, with the powers of concentration and willpower, you can take your awareness, your glowing ball of light, to any area of the mind that you want to go to. And here's the most important statement. Where your awareness goes, that's where your energy is flowing. So if your awareness goes to the anger area of the mind, that's where your energy is flowing, and that angry area of the mind, the muscles within that area of the mind become stronger. Remember what I said about energy earlier, right? Your life is a manifestation of where you invest your energy. Energy works the same way that water does. You want something to grow, put energy into it, right? So by moving your awareness to a particular area of the mind, you strengthen that area of the mind. So that's the theory of it. Let's talk about a practical application of this. You've all been to the movies before. Your friend invites you to go see Mission Impossible 15. Let's go see what Tom's up to. So you go to the movies, you buy enough popcorn to feed a whole village in India just for yourself, big drink, you're sitting there chatting with your friends, the lights go dim, right? Everybody goes quiet. And if it's a really great producer or director, they can take your awareness to any area of the mind they want you to go to. If you're watching a Bond movie, you know for the first 10 minutes of a Bond movie, it's going to be super exciting, right? So awareness goes from chatting with your friend about whatever now to an exciting area of the mind. And after the first 10 minutes when Bond saves the world, what comes on? He walks across the screen, there's a little circle that goes, he turns, he shoots, and you go like, yeah, Bond, right? Now, so you go like, you're all riled up about Bond. And then what comes on next? It's usually credits, right? There's words going across the screen, the silhouettes of women. It looks very, very sensual. So awareness goes from talking about your friend to exciting area of the mind, now to a sensual area of the mind. And after the credits, he usually goes to MI5, looks at a new watch, BMWs with rocket launches. Right now, awareness goes to a technology area of the mind. Then they see the bad guy, it goes to a frightening area of the mind, to a happy area of the mind, to a scary area of the mind. And then you see two words on the screen, the end. And you turn to your friend and you go, what a great movie. That producer-director took your awareness from one area of the mind to another, allowing you to have all these different experiences. Essentially, you become a slave to that director. You give the director permission to take your awareness to different areas. This happens all day long. All day long, we allow someone or something to dictate where awareness goes. The phone beeps, we turn to the phone. Something happens out there, awareness goes over there. If you allow this to happen all day long, you essentially become a slave to everyone and everything around you. Your goal is not to control your mind, but rather to control what? Sorry? My hearing's not so good. Awareness, thank you very much. Your goal is to control your awareness. Because if you don't control your awareness, then something or someone around you is controlling your awareness. And if they're controlling your awareness, what else are they controlling in your life? Thank you. Answers on the board, right? Right? Where awareness goes, energy flows. If they control where your awareness is going, they're controlling where your energy is flowing. If they're controlling where your energy is flowing, they're controlling what's manifesting in your life. You want to create the life you want to create, learn to control your awareness. Because when you can control your awareness, you can control where your energy is going. When you can control where your energy is going, you can control what's manifesting in your life. So let's do a practical exercise to see if this actually works or not. For this, I need audience participation. I need you all to sit up straight again in your chairs. Your eyes closed. Don't worry, we're not going to hold hands and chant. We'll do that later. Usually freaks people out when I say that. Okay, so sit up straight, close your eyes. Take a slow, deep breath in. I want you to become aware of this room. Become aware of the sound of my voice, the temperature in this room. Is it cold? Is it warm? You can hear people setting up the room in the background, some glasses. Your eyes are closed. I want you to become aware of the most recent wedding that you attended. The most recent wedding that you attended. Do you remember whose wedding it was? Do you remember what you wore to the wedding? Try and think as much detail as you can about the wedding. Do you remember what the bride wore? Did she make a good choice with her dress? Were you happy for the couple getting married? Were there a lot of drinks? Did you drink a lot? Was there good music? Did you dance? Do some crazy wedding dance? Your eyes are still closed. I want you to become aware of the most recent vacation that you went on. Where did you go? What type of vacation was it anyway? Skiing trip, surfing trip, yoga retreat, holiday in Europe. Try and think as much detail as you can about the vacation. What was the weather like? Was it snowing, cold, rainy, hot? If you stayed in a few different places, was there a favorite hotel, a favorite Airbnb that you stayed in? How was the food? Spicy, bland? Did you get sick eating the food? Your eyes are still closed. I want you to become aware of the room again. Are you sitting up nice and straight? Can you hear the humming of the air conditioning above us? People setting up for lunch behind. Sound of my voice. Okay, you can slowly open your eyes and lean back in your chest. Thank you for doing that exercise with me. That exercise is to prove to you two things. One is there's a clear separation between awareness and the mind, two completely different things. The second is that you can move your awareness to any area of the mind you want to go to. How many of you were thinking about a wedding today? Probably not many, right? So I took your awareness from being in this room, becoming aware of yourself sitting up straight, the noises in the room, then to move your awareness to an area of the subconscious mind where the memory of the wedding resided. As soon as you went there, you started to think about the wedding. How do I know you were thinking about the wedding? Well, my eyes were open, your eyes were closed. And when I asked questions, I could see the reactions in your faces. Did the bride make a good choice with her dress? Somebody went, hey. Did you drink a lot? The two ladies at the back started laughing and smiling. So obviously they drank a lot, right? And then I took the awareness from an area of the mind where the memory of the wedding resided, and I moved it to another area of the mind where there was the memory of the vacation. And I kept you there. I don't know how well you can concentrate. Well, I can look at you. Most of you can't concentrate very well. So I kept you there by perpetually asking you questions about the vacation. And when you were in the vacation area of the mind, you were not thinking about the wedding. And then I brought you from the vacation area of the mind back to the room. And when you came back to the room and I said, are you sitting up straight? A lot of you sat up straight. So what does that tell you? It tells you that you're not the mind, rather your awareness moving through the mind. And you can control where your awareness goes. All day long, we allow someone or something to dictate where our awareness goes. When we're sitting with a client, we're physically with the client, our awareness is somewhere else. All right? Your ability to concentrate is your ability to keep your awareness on one thing at a time, right? Let me give you another quick example. Do you remember your first kiss? Do you? Some people are embarrassed. Some people are smiling. Do you remember where it took place? Back of Dad's car, behind the garage. Was it fun? Was it weird? Do you remember the first time someone you loved, someone really dear to your heart, passed away? Someone that meant the world to you. Do you remember being told about their passing? Do you remember how it felt? I remember. It wasn't very pleasant. Did you have the privilege to say one final goodbye to the body? I know I did. First night's always hard, right? Knowing you'd never see them again. Ever. Isn't it fascinating? In the space of about 75 seconds, I can take this whole room from smiling and giggling to now people feeling sad. Now I can take your awareness to an angry area of the mind where all of you are angry and will get up and leave. Shall we do that? No? Is it a Jedi mind trick? You have to understand that awareness and the mind are two completely different things. If you don't control where your awareness is going, someone else is going to control where your awareness is going. And they're going to dictate how you feel every moment of your life and what's happening to you. You want to control your life, you want to manifest what you want to manifest in your life, you need to take control of your awareness. Because if you don't, then someone else or something else is going to do that, right? The first step in doing that is learning how to concentrate. Let's start by defining what concentration is. I define concentration as my ability to concentrate, right? My ability to keep awareness on one thing at a time. So if I can keep my awareness on Gemma, I'm concentrating. If it moves away and it goes to this gentleman over here, I'm getting distracted. I take my awareness, my ball of light, I bring it back to Gemma. My ability to keep my awareness on Gemma is my ability to concentrate. Most people can't concentrate for two reasons. One is they've never been taught to concentrate. Second is they never practice concentration. How many of you, when you were growing up here, had formal classes in concentration every single day, the same way you had formal classes in math and science and geography and history, like for an hour each day in class? Anybody? I travel all around the world, and I ask this one question. It's my personal survey, and no one has ever put up their hand. Now, how many of you, when you were growing up in school, were told to concentrate? Right. How many of you have kids? How many of you have told your kids to concentrate, to focus? Isn't it amazing? You look at your kids and you go, can you just focus for a second? All right? You're like, yeah, I'd love to, if you showed me how to. Who here does not play the piano? What's your name, sir? Sorry? Rasa? Rasa. Sorry, what was it? Hassan? Okay. Probably still got it wrong. With a G? Gassan. Oh, thank you. Gassan. Gassan, play the piano. I said play the piano. It's not fair, right? It's not fair for me to raise my voice at him and tell him to play the piano. The same way we look at our kids and go, can you just focus for a second? And we tell our teams that, right? You run companies, you tell your teams, guys, we have a project coming up. It's due in 2 weeks. We need everyone to focus. What's the problem here? You've never taught them how to focus, right? We go through life. People tell us to concentrate, never teach us how to do it. And how do we become good at it? Practice, right? I said to you, if I practice 7 hours a day of tennis, 6 days a week, will I play for Wimbledon? And a lot of you went like, no way, right? That's a lot of practice. So imagine if you don't practice, learn concentration, don't practice, how can you be good at it? So what are the benefits of concentration? The number one benefit of concentration, giving someone your undivided attention, is your highest form of love and respect, right? A lot of you consultants, when you sit with your client, give your client your undivided attention, right? Be fully present with them. How do you do that? You keep your awareness on them. Awareness drifts away, bring it back. Drifts away, bring it back. Every time I sit with a client, I'm on a call with a client, on FaceTime or on a phone, I give my clients my undivided attention. It shows them that I love them, I respect them, and I value what they have to say. And if they're engaging me, my goal is to be completely present by being completely focused. Another benefit of concentration is my ability. Prolonged states of concentration leads to the power of observation. If I go to the gym and I lift weights, what do I get? I get muscle, right? It's a natural byproduct of lifting weights. If I concentrate for prolonged periods of time, I develop the power of observation. What's the power of observation? In monk language, we call it the mountaintop perspective. You've ever watched a live soccer game on TV or a sports game? Guys running down the field with a soccer ball. Everybody in the room saying, pass it to him, pass it to him. He passes it to someone else. What's the reaction in the room? Ah, you idiot, right? How much is the idiot getting paid? $40 million a year before endorsements? So why all of a sudden he's the idiot and you're the genius? It's a matter of perspective, right? You're watching the game from the top of the stadium. You see the whole picture and therefore are able to make a better decision, right? He's on the field. He can only see in front of him. Your ability to have different perspectives on things, on your clients, on your personal life, comes from your ability to be observant. How do you develop observation? You develop observation by cultivating concentration, because observation is a natural byproduct of concentration. So how do we concentrate? We practice keeping our awareness on one thing at a time. We practice doing one thing at a time, and we integrate this practice into everything that we do. The best way to become good, to develop any skill or quality you want to develop, is to look at your average day and ask yourself, what are the non-negotiable reoccurring events in your average day? And I'll say that statement again. What are the non-negotiable reoccurring events in your average day? Every day, I speak with my wife. That's a non-negotiable reoccurring event, right? I use that as an opportunity to practice concentration. So if I speak to her 2 hours a day on an average workday, that's 2 hours of practicing concentration and keeping my awareness on her. I have an 8-month-old baby. I spend about 3 hours with her every day. Every time I spend time with her, I give her my undivided attention. That's 3 more hours of practicing concentration. Now I've clocked 5 hours. I spend at least an hour and a half, 2 hours a day talking to clients, right? I work from my home in New York City, from my apartment. I have clients all around the world. Every time I'm on the phone, on a call with a client, I give my client my undivided attention. I'm not looking at my computer. I'm not looking at my phone. Turn around, I stare at the building across from my apartment, and I give my client my undivided attention. That's another 2 hours of practice and concentration. Now I've clocked 7 hours of practice and concentration. After 6 months, what do I become good at? Concentration. After a year, I become really good at concentration. After a year and a half, 2 years, I become excellent at concentration. I become more efficient at everything I do. I'm much more productive, right? I'm super observant. I see opportunities, countless opportunities in front of me. I see pitfalls in front of me. The benefits are endless, right? But the best way to become good at anything is to identify the non-negotiable reoccurring events in your life, right? And to insert the practice. Gemma, who's one person in your work life that you talk to every single day? Who would that be? Sorry? Rafa? Rafa. Okay, you? Rafa. Okay, so every time you speak with Rafa, you give him your undivided attention. Right? You're welcome. So every time every time he comes into your office or he comes to see you, you put your phone away, you turn away from your computer, and you give him your undivided attention. Your awareness drifts away, you bring it back to him. It drifts away, you bring it back to him. You are relentless with this practice. So if you speak with him 10 minutes a day, that's 10 minutes of practice and concentration. After a year, you start to become slowly better at concentration, because speaking with Rafa is a non-negotiable recurring event, at least 5 days a week, right? So use that, leverage that as an opportunity to practice concentration. So your homework, and I'm not hoping you do it now, but once you go back, is to list 3 opportunities in your average day when you can practice concentration, right? So write it down on your phone or write it down somewhere before you forget. Is to identify 3 non-negotiable reoccurring events in your day and insert the practice of doing one thing at a time at that, right? And here's the most important thing. What I want you to do, even though you identified 3 non-negotiable reoccurring events, I don't want you to practice all 3 of them. So for example, with Gemma, she's going to give Rafa her undivided attention every time she speaks with him. The rest of the day, go ahead and be a squirrel, right? All right, be all over the place. After about 5 months, you become really great at giving him your undivided attention. Then take the next thing on your list and add it to your practice, right? You have to understand that the mind is like a muscle. The way to build a mind is to build it in incremental steps. So if I go to the gym and I bench press 10 kilos for 2 weeks, I actually bench press a lot more than that, but if I bench press 10 kilos for 2 weeks, right? After 2 weeks, do I go from 10 kilos to 15 kilos, or do I go from 10 to 100 kilos? Naturally to 15, right? Because muscles build in incremental steps. Your mind is a muscle. If you try to do too much at one time, you cannot sustain the change, right? So pick one thing, one non-negotiable recurring event in your life to focus, practice, concentration on. The rest of the day, go ahead and be a squirrel. And then you become really good at this, then add a second thing. So once after maybe a few months, you're really good at giving him your undivided attention, then ask, what's the next non-negotiable recurring event that I can practice concentration on, right? The next thing we want to learn how to develop is the willpower. Let's start by defining what willpower is. I define willpower as a mental muscle. If I could draw biceps around my mind, that's my willpower, right? So why do I develop willpower? I develop willpower so that every time my awareness, my ball of light drifts away, I use my mental muscle to bring it back, right? It drifts away again, I use my mental muscle to bring it back. So Gemma's having a conversation with Rafa. He starts talking, her awareness starts drifting away. She uses her mental muscle, her willpower, to bring her ball of light, her awareness, back to him. It drifts away again, brings it back. Then she uses the powers of concentration to keep her awareness on Rafa, right? How do you develop willpower? There are 3 ways to develop willpower. 1, you finish what you begin. 2, you finish it while you're beyond your expectations. 3, you do a little bit more than you think you can. All of these things require effort, and that effort is developing willpower. It's so easy to start something. It takes tremendous amount of effort to actually finish something. To do a little bit more than you think you can and to do something better than you think you can requires tremendous amount of willpower. When you work on a client project, finish the project, do it a little better than you think you can, and do a little bit more than you think you can. What client's going to complain when you do more for them, right? This is how you develop willpower. And the best way to do it, same like concentration as well. You look at your average day, identify what the non-negotiable reoccurring events are in an average day, and insert the practice into them. Give you a simple example. Every day I look at my life, I ask myself, what's another non-negotiable reoccurring event? Every day I go to sleep. It's a non-negotiable reoccurring event. Before I sleep, I floss, I brush my teeth, put on my pajamas, I go to sleep. When I wake up in the morning, I finish the process of sleep. How do I finish the process of sleep? I make the bed, right? Making the bed for me is finishing the process of sleep, right? So every morning I wake up, I make the bed. When I lived in the monastery, it was very easy to make the bed. I lived in a hut that was 3 meters by 3 meters by 3 meters, had 4 walls, 2 windows, a door, a futon mattress, a sheet, a pillow, and an oil lamp. No toilet, no electricity, no plumbing, nothing. Making the bed took all of 7 seconds. I straightened the sheet out, the pillow. Now, I live with my wife. I remember asking my wife many years ago, I said, honey, who are we sleeping with today? She looked at me like, what are you talking about, you crazy person? I said, well, there's 1 pillow for me and 1 pillow for you. Who are all these other pillows for, right? Are we having a sleepover? Because it takes a lot of work to make the bed nowadays. So every morning, the priest is fluffing the pillows, putting the pillows on there, and then I put the sheet, and then I got the comforter to put on. And then it says, do a little bit more than you think you can, and do a little better than you think you can, right? So some days I double fold the comforter like they do at the Four Seasons. Some days I fold it at an angle like they do at the W Hotel. But every morning I make the bed, right? I make the bed so that I finish what I begin, which is the process of sleep, to develop willpower. Now, there are thousands of people around the world that heard me speak about this that are making their bed today. People come up to me and they say, Dandapani, ever since I heard you speak, I've been making the bed. And I look at them, I go, congratulations, that's really great. Then I ask them, why do you make the bed? And the 99.99% of people look at me and go, because I can start my day with a win. Right? I accomplish something in the morning, it starts my day with a win. And my head falls down, and I think to myself, what a horrible teacher I am. Because I didn't ask you to make the bed so you start your day with a win so that you feel good. Why did I ask you to make the bed in the morning? I asked you to make the bed in the morning so you can finish what you begin. Why are you finishing what you begin? Because when you finish what you begin, you're developing willpower. Why are you developing willpower? You develop willpower so you can control where your awareness is going in your mind. Why are you controlling where your awareness is going in your mind? So you can control where your energy is flowing. Why are you controlling where your energy is flowing? So you can control and decide what is manifesting.